52 influencers, 52 life-changing opportunities.
From professional and collegiate teams to brands and companies that impact us daily, and even nonprofits who pave the way for giving back and building a positive community.
eFuse will have a heavy focus on giving these organizations all the resources necessary to provide life-changing opportunities and recruit the best talent for their organizations all throughout 2020.
From live events to the largest eSport virtual internship fair, these are just a couple of the life-changing opportunities in our pipeline.
Whether you're a pro, a casual gamer, or anything in between, eFuse is committed to growing the platform and providing opportunities for everyone.
eFuse is now open to the world.
Have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side.
2020, I'm Megan Baker, President and CEO of Baker Public Relations. We are live from the Albany Capitol Center. We have another terrific panel discussion here for you today. This topic focuses on esports in high school and college and the real world, how to get recruited and how to blend esports and academics, which is a $1 million question, right? I want to go ahead and introduce our panelists right now. We have Neil Malvone, the Collegiate Sports Management Group and professor at Caldwell University, Michael Leksinski, UAlbany head esports coach, Bob Stranahan, head coach at HVCC, creator of Mohonasen High School's esports program, and Patrick Fillon, director of athletics, head men's basketball coach, Bryant and Stratton College. Thank you so much, and we welcome all of you here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So my pleasure. First question here that I have for all of you is, what can high schoolers do now to prepare for college play? Anyone want to take that?
Sure, I'll start. I thought you were going to call on us individually, but I can start by saying that one thing that high schoolers need to do is obviously continue to play, but they need to start to get noticed. If we use the traditional sport model as an example, the more opportunities they have to play in front of coaches will help them get recruited. For example, showcase events, joining companies like eFuse, which is a Facebook for gamers, or being part of the high school esports league will help them get the repetitions that they need for the coaches to see what talent level they're at, and also start to assess their character and what they are behind and off of the gaming systems.
Michael,
And further, I'd add to that their talent will certainly show for itself through any showcases and things of that nature, as has been previously mentioned, but also to advocate for themselves. I mean, the recruiting process is such that coaches will look for talent, but if there's a university or college that a student has any interest in, then they can certainly reach out to those coaches and send emails. And if they have any, footage of them competing, then certainly that helps the coach as well if they're not familiar with that student. So if they can advocate for themselves, I think that's a huge step for them to let coaches know not just of their interest, but also of their talent level.
Yeah, I think from the perspective of students looking to be involved with esports, I think it's just like esports in general, it's very much an evolving area. So there's the competitive aspect of esports, which is represented, collegiate competition, professional competition, things of that nature. But then there's also the content creators and the streamers. And those are people like you see on Twitch that have audiences of millions and millions of people, and in some cases that make millions and millions of dollars a year. I think you also have a third segment of young people looking to get into games and in esports, and that was really represented by the industry panel that was given earlier this morning, which looks at the sorts of jobs and career opportunities for students. And those are some of the things that not only as my role as head coach and director of UAlbany Esports, that we're looking at the competitive side, but I'm also a professor. I've been with the university since 2012. So we're looking at the integration of esports and gaming into our academic curriculum, which I'm sure will be one of the questions and things we'll discuss today. But it's really an evolving area, and there's lots of different aspects, as Neil mentioned, being in the game and getting your reps in, and to Patrick's point, getting the footage, marketing yourself and positioning yourself are very important on the competitive side. And then Neil also mentioned the idea of character, I think is very important as well. Being a well-rounded student and being a student who's also committed to their academic success is a big part of the equation, I think, in high school and in collegiate esports as it evolves.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I mean, advocating in schools through, like you said, high school esports league or play versus. So getting teams in schools, advocating to your athletic directors, kind of building programs, just because if you show interest as a student, it shows that it is a real thing. And then realizing that as a student, you're your own brand, like you are a brand, like whether that's your Twitch channel, whatever it is, like you are a brand. And it is attitude, it is gameplay, but it's not just sharing clips, it's being part of a team. And it really depends on what game you're talking about. There's a difference between playing Fortnite by yourself and then playing a team game like Overwatch, because they might need roles. If you're a really good support and UAlbany or somebody needs a support, that might be, hey, let me send some clips to UAlbany. They might need, or just little things like that. So realizing you're a brand and then advocating for esports, possibly in your own school, I think are very important at a high school level.
How early does esports recruitment begin, and is there a difference between traditional athletics and sports versus esports when it comes to recruitment?
I think, again, if we use the traditional sport model, I don't think there's an early age. I think if you're a gamer and you have talent and people notice that, the schools, the colleges, the coaches will start to see that as well. I know, again, there's middle school leagues starting around the country. I know Texas is starting middle school associations. So I don't think age is as big a factor as it might be in traditional sport. And of course, without any compliance issues from the NCAA or eligibility issues to worry about, there's no dark periods, there's no contact periods. So that recruitment can start at any age, at any time. So I think age isn't really a factor. But again, it still comes back down to that level of character. And I think, the maturity level at a 12-year-old is certainly going to be a lot different than a 16-year-old. So coaches certainly have to be mindful of that. But keeping a player of that age on your radar is certainly not a bad idea.
And that's a great point. And again, as we talk about character as well, as Bob had mentioned in his last statement, that maybe you're a role player, maybe you're a support player in a particular game. If you are, striving to be that person that's out front, that's terrific, and that speaks to your individual confidence. But the character is going to shine through long term. And as far as age and recruitment, referencing the traditional sport model, I agree. I don't think the age matters as they get on in high school, that their maturity level will obviously increase with each passing year. You hope, and but as far as from a recruitment standpoint, as soon as they have an idea, as soon as that student, that individual has an idea of what they'd like to do and where they'd like to go, again, which speaks to what I said earlier about advocating for themselves, they should go for it. Now, obviously, it's more of a challenge with middle school students. If you're getting emails from 12-year-olds, that doesn't really help you. But if they are in high school and they have a sense of what direction they want to go in, then I think they should move forward with their process.
I think also to put in perspective the growth and acceleration of esports within the last few years, I think to say it's a hockey stick is an understatement, especially what's happening at the collegiate level, but also at the professional level with Twitch viewership. You have an event like the League of Legends Finals, which actually has more viewers than the Super Bowl. You're seeing stadiums like the Staples Center, Madison Square Garden, Olympic stadiums throughout the world being sold out for esports events. To put in perspective and also to give a little bit of a shout out to the ECAC and CEG and the Albany Capital Center and the team behind this event this year, I brought 3 students to the H3 GamerCon last year, 3 students. We had some great conversations with Dan Coonan from the ECAC, and we're really proud to be a part of the event, to see the production quality, to see the jumbotrons and the multiple stages and the thousands of people. We went from 3 students and worked really hard at the university over the summer to where we now have over 100 students on our competitive team. We won multiple championships in our first year. We're a co-ed team of all class years, of all majors. We built a program based on the opportunities and the sort of incubation, the acceleration that this event in particular really helped us to do. And within 2 weeks of our announcement of our program, we had hundreds of students at the university who wanted to participate. So I think you're going to continue to see growth, with what HVCC is doing now with Bob's program. And Bob and I actually met last year at H3 GamerCon for the first time as well. So there's this idea of community, I think, especially right here in the Capital District, that's very, very special with the industry, with the academic partners, with just the energy that we have, and the work we've done at the University of Albany, I think, is really a testament to all of the possibilities that are only going to continue as far as I'm concerned.
Michael, you made a really good point that I'd like to build on a little bit. Is it's beyond the gaming interest, right? So if you have a gaming interest, that's fine, but some of us found our passions in other places, whether it was in journalism, in drama, in production, in any audio visual club that you might be in. Those opportunities are available across college campuses now as well. I know communication departments across the country are now creating shoutcaster programs, and so you're learning behind the camera, in front of the camera. If you have a passion for something, there's a spot for you in esports, and I don't think there's an age where you shouldn't start thinking about the things you like to do and seeing what kind of career you can build off of it.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game, as you said, the ability to be on camera, the commentary, the off camera, the technical, the considerations of OBS and broadcasting and streaming. There are so many opportunities, the cybersecurity, the networking, the hardware, the software, the content creation. This is just a tremendous opportunity. It is much bigger than gaming and just sports. Absolutely.
Bob, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all, we're colleges or we're high schools, like we're academic environments, and it's like teaching, how to utilize OBS, not just in esports avenue, but in many different avenues, looking at the access. I mean, I'm starting a program at Hudson Valley this year, and everything's online. So getting students, recruiting students is the toughest challenge for me. And a lot of them have no idea because they didn't have esports teams in high school. So when they get to Hudson Valley, they're going there for whatever they're pursuing for their degree, but they don't even know that we have it. So I think like as it grows down and we're going to have 12-year-olds realizing, oh, esports, like 99% of colleges have esports. Cool. I can, get better at this craft, or I can do this. And oh, UAlbany has like an esports program where I can learn the ins and outs of esports. Wow, that's really awesome. So I think just it being broader and having more access and But yeah, I think it's just growing and growing. Like you said, hockey stick really doesn't even describe it, to the least.
Michael had mentioned about how he had three players and it's grown to over 100, just in a year's time. How are you all getting buy-in from administrators to expand these programs, and has it been a challenge?
Well, I can speak on behalf of Collegiate Sports Management Group. We're partners with the ECAC, the four-year college governing body for esports, and we're partners with the NJCAA, which is the two-year college association, and they created NJCAAE for esports last year. The NJCAAE started with 40 schools last year. They're nearly at 100 this year. So the buy-in has been good at the two-year level of schools. And the ECAC has grown by 25% since last year as well. So it's an interesting growth. Again, the hockey stick metaphor is a good one. Some administrators, some conference commissioners want nothing to do with esports. And quite frankly, that's very short-sighted, not only on behalf of of themselves, but on behalf of their schools in their conference, because the schools are participating whether they want to do it or not. And why not create that organized structure, that governing body, to make sure it's being played properly and well organized and well structured. So the buy-in is still a work in progress, but what I've seen again with our company in the last 12 months has been the buy-in is happening more and less opportunity for pushback. And of course, without traditional sports this fall, there has been a tremendous amount of outreach to say, how do we fill our time? How do we keep our students and our athletes engaged? And that's been a great conversation that we've been having all summer and into the beginning of the fall here.
And the buy-in, I think, is a critical piece of this. So at Bryant Stratton College, what the way we've gotten into it. So our parent organization from an athletic standpoint is the United States Collegiate Athletic Association. So each year the USCAA has their annual convention. And last year, one of the breakout sessions was esports on campuses and how do we get that started. And with the phenomenon of esports, I thought this would be a great breakout session to go to learn a little bit more about it and where it was, where it is, and where it's going. The moderator of the panel is I believe he was the director of athletics at Southern Maine Community College. They made the announcement that they were going to start an esports program, and they were flooded with inquiries and applications just from students that wanted to be a part of this. And in this day and age of higher education, which a lot of smaller schools as we are, where enrollment is a big deal, this would be another avenue where we could drive enrollment in addition to also giving students an opportunity to get their degree while competing in their chosen esports platform. When I brought the information back to our administration and told them of how the growth occurred at a handful of other colleges, it was almost immediate. There was no pushback. There was no questions about, well, how do we do this and how would we go about it? Was, okay, how can we start it? What are the ins and outs of it? And so that was the convention that I attended, was in June of last year. As we speak right now, our esports arena is up and running, and we have 10 stations, and we've had a ton of applicants that have interest to compete. And I think it goes hand in hand with what Neil had brought up with right now, traditional on-field, on-court sports they're in a gray area. And so this gives those esports competitors a chance to pursue their degree in addition to their continue to compete in their chosen game.
Yeah, in terms of the buy-in, there's a couple elements here I think that are really important. To both Patrick and Neil's points, esports, Steph Curry has an interest, a financial interest investment in an esports team. The Houston Rockets, the New England Patriots, NBA athletes, NFL athletes. Really, esports is a crossover. I think they play games, they stream on Twitch, they make investments into esports properties. When when the NBA was not playing, ESPN broadcasted Kevin Durant playing NBA 2K on ESPN. There's been NASCAR races, iNASCAR, Tour de France was virtual this year. This was really in the challenging times of what's happening in the world with the pandemic. Esports, in many respects, has been the only sport that's been able to compete. As we know, traditional sports are not able to occur at this time. And so there has been a degree of new perspective, I think, that people have for esports. And there are so many benefits to esports that come from a traditional framework. Being a former student athlete myself, understanding what teamwork is, understanding what leadership is, understanding what looking at your game film and understanding the ins and outs of the game, those things all translate to esports. And in terms of buy-in, we have over 100 students on our team, which also encompass content creators and students interested in social media and all of these areas. But we have over 400 students on our list. So we anticipated maybe 20 to 60 students as our initial team, and we have interest from over 400 just in our first year. Really, I think that speaks to the fact that students are playing games already on campus. They're already gamers, they're playing in the dorms, they're connecting with people all over the world through games. We have multiple clubs on campus which are run by students as student activities and engagements through our club organization. And then ultimately, you know, the thing I think at our particular university in our scenario is everyone from our president to our vice presidents, our provost, our deans, they understand what's happening globally with games and with esports, and they understand the opportunities. In the previous panel today, they you know, the panelists spoke about the jobs. They're all hiring, and they're all hiring here in the Capital District. And many of these jobs in STEM and in STEAM, they're very well-paying jobs. They're wonderful career paths. And so our administration has been really visionaries, I think, and leaders in this respect, that they understand how this all works together and is more than just about gaming. It's really about the opportunity for the students, and that's what we're really looking to do, and blend the academic opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think you guys have really pioneered. I mean, the last we talked, the last HV GamerCon was when we met, and I was, didn't even have a program at Mohan at the time. And then I've started a program, participated in 2 seasons, and now here we are. And, it's very student driven. I mean, I started a Discord for Hudson Valley 2-3 weeks ago, and we have over 50 people now. And it's just constant coming in. Oh, I just heard about it. I just heard about it. And they're just filling out the forms. And, I just think that it's just so student led, it's student driven. Like you said, they're at home, they're playing games anyway. We have 10 games, 10 opportunities per season. Like there's so many teams, there's so many individual opportunities for these students to participate in esports. I just think it's a fantastic offering. The ECAC has a ton of games. The NJCAAE has a ton of games, and it's just a great opportunity for these students to participate. They might have been playing Rocket League forever and not had an opportunity at a high school level. Maybe played in tournaments, or maybe just played at their house, but now they're having those opportunities while at the academic institutions that they're going to and participating in. And I just think it's an awesome opportunity, and it's just growing.
Bob, since
Megan.
you helped push, the program at Mohannesson, I just want to follow up with that thought for a second and ask basically all of you this question, but we'll start with Bob. How important are partnerships with high schools to funnel esports athletes to the colleges, especially here, at the local level?
A big goal of mine, Megan, is to get as many like Section 2 teams as possible. Every year I want that number to grow, and it's tough because I offer 10 games at the college level, and a lot of those games are not necessarily at the high school level, and if they are, they might be HSEL games. But we participated in the Play Versus League that had Rocket League, and it had League of Legends and Smite, and it's tough and challenging to get some teams, especially MOBAs, at a high school level. But I think the more awareness, it's like you said, League of Legends had more people viewing it than the Super Bowl. Like those are the type of games that we can start at a younger age, speaking to the age as well, getting these students to realize that these are opportunities, because a lot of students, they'll just stop playing really early and just, focus on other things. And it's not to say that they need to focus on esports for their whole lives, but it's a really important thing, especially when they like games early, to kind of foster that enjoyment for the games. But I think just at a high school level, I think from a coaching perspective, a lot of coaches or teachers or whoever would be the runner of the club or the team, they don't feel like they have the expertise. I don't have expertise in 10 games. I am not a professional esports coach in 10 games. It just isn't, I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to have 3 paid assistant coaches under me, which is fantastic. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to just do it for the kids. You got to do it for the passion of the kids and try to grow the program. And I'm always here. There's always people here to reach out to kind of like show, hey, this is how we paved the way. This is what we did. I think a lot of it is logistical as well, like setting up the games, troubleshooting, not being afraid of, hey, there might be technical issues. There might be issues going on with the game or an update or this or that. Just being able to troubleshoot and be a problem solver, I think, is the best way to drive a high school esports team forward.
And also to build on that with Bob, so one of the former captains on my esports team, and who was also the president of the esports student club, is now working with Bob as one of his assistant coaches. And so we have an articulation agreement. UAlbany has an articulation agreement with students from HVCC once they finish their degree to come study at UAlbany. And we're exploring the possibility, wow, could we also bring students who are on Bob's esports team over to UAlbany to finish up their undergraduate degree and join our esports team? So I think collaborations and the idea of building community is very important. We would also love, we had some plans this summer to offer some summer camps and some opportunities to collaborate with some of the schools to bring them to our arena and to engage and interact with our students. And as we all know, that wasn't possible. But in the future, we hope to have in-person events like HV GamerCon, where you literally have thousands of students and families and people in the community and industry professionals, everybody getting together for a weekend of not only competitive gaming, but also learning and panels and opportunities to kind of really plug into this industry and these opportunities and see what it's all about. And just from that one event from last year, so many wonderful things have, as I said, really been kickstarted for what we're doing with esports and gaming. And those collaborations, I think collaboration, and it's kind of silly to say, but teamwork, right? Here we are in sports. Teamwork is the name of the game. There's no question. This is, as Bob said, he runs 10 games, we run 8 or 9 games. I have some students who are internationally ranked. They are like the top 10, the top 20 in the world at the game they play. It's documented in their leaderboards, and they are literally the best, some of the best in the world. What the perspective of coaching for me, they know that game so well, and they know those opportunities within that game, and they are literally the expert in that game. So then the idea of coaching is really the idea of mentorship, and it's the idea of the overall supporting the student, not only in his abilities within the game, but also in the classroom and within his entire student experience. But it's the idea of setting the tone and developing the leadership opportunities within our students, and really the idea of teamwork and working together, I think, is what it's all about.
Again, to extend a little bit on what Bob and Michael just said, that pathway from high school to junior college to college, that pipeline is really something we're starting to see again with our associations with the NJCAA and the ECAC, and starting at the high school esports league relationship. That pipeline is really important. I think parents especially need to now understand what that pipeline really means. I'm at a recruiting day for Caldwell University, and parents will come up to me and say, so you're telling me my child is going to sit around and play video games all day? And so I tell them, well, yes, they are when they're not in class, because that's what they do. But in the classroom, they're not playing video games. I'm teaching them the business of esports. And Caldwell, we have a 4-year major esports business administration that teaches the billion-dollar industry of esports. But for some students, they can't start off at a 4-year school. So maybe they start off at a 2-year school, and with articulation programs, you get those credits transferred to that 4-year school where you can finish your degree. And more importantly now, that pipeline is extending outside of college. At Collegiate Sports Management Group, we have interns from schools around the region: SUNY Canton, Syracuse, St. John's, Caldwell, that were esport players, gamers, students that are now interning. So that becomes that added piece to the pipeline: high school, junior college, 4-year college, and then a job. And that's the answer that the parents want to hear. And so when you talk about buy-in, Megan, and I know that's where we started here, the buy-in has to be campus-wide, right? The students have already bought in. They want to play games. So you have to figure out the administration side of it, not just the athletic side, but the presidents, the chancellors, the academic deans, and make this buy-in from the campus perspective as opposed to one department. And to me, the 3 R's of education are no longer reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's about recruitment, it's about revenue, and it's about retention. And esports brings all of those to all college campuses if it's done holistically across the campus as opposed to 1 or 2 small departments.
What should students look for in a college esports program, and what really differentiates the top programs that are offered?
Well, are you asking from an academic perspective or from a gaming perspective? Because again, depending on the school, you could have the choice of both. So again, at Caldwell University, from an academic perspective, we're looking and recruiting students that have, you know, a good, solid educational background, right? That are doing well in high school. We don't want students coming here again thinking they're just playing video games all day. We want them to be well-rounded students and gamers, very similar to student athletes if you think about it from that perspective. So that's one of the first things we look at. I mentioned it a few times. We look at character. We want to make sure that we're bringing in the right people that fit within the mission of our school. You know, we're a small liberal arts Catholic school in North Jersey. So, you know, we have a mission of service and giving back, and that's very important to us. But that's what you're going to see from any student that's looking to be admitted at our school, is that well-rounded student athlete, someone who cares about the society and wants to give back and serve and be part of a team. Those are the things we look at for sure.
And from an enrollment perspective, to piggyback off of Neil's statement there is, as we all know that we're in education, every student learns differently, and every student has a backstory. At Bryant Stratton College, we have a very, very small enrollment, and a great number of our students are first-generation college kids. So maybe they need to, and again, even and taking it further, Neil, like I didn't know that Caldwell had an esports business program. So we have associate degree programs at Bryant Stratton where a student can come in and maybe they're a brilliant gamer and they're not ready, as previously stated, for a 4-year college. So they can come to Bryant Stratton and grow up a little bit, but also continue in the game and get their associate degree. And now as they want to move on to their next stop and earn their bachelor's, well, in conversations with those students, they tell me that something along the lines of what Caldwell offers. And now, having learned that myself now, I can tell that student, hey, that sounds very similar to what Caldwell offers. Have you thought about Caldwell College? Is it called college or university? It's called
university now,
right?
Yes.
I know years ago it was Caldwell College.
That's correct.
But now we can have that conversation with that student and say, okay, you've matured, you've done some things well in the classroom, and now that collaboration can go where he or she can continue to game, but also go to that next step and earn their bachelor's in their chosen field. So I think that's a really big deal in terms of recruiting at the college level. Is characters a part of it, but every student's different. And when we can get to the essence of what that student is about and what they're looking for, and eventually what they're going to become, because we're not looking at who they are today. As coaches, we try to pull the best out of them and what they're going to be, 2, 5, 10, 20 years from now. So I think that the recruitment piece is a big part of it, but also looking at each individual student on their own merit and helping steer them at times to maybe places that they didn't think that they could be able to go.
Yeah, it's like you said, Michael, it's the mentorship aspect of it. Like I'm getting a lot of student athletes who have never played competitive esports ever. And I feel, that's normally they'll play soccer when they're 5 years old and play in travel leagues and then go play in college. These are kids that are students that are 19, 18 years old that have played Fortnite for a couple years or played Madden since they were young and stuff like that. But they've never had that like team aspect, and it's hard sometimes because, if you play Madden for me and you play CSGO, you might not really interact, you might not, but it's also trying to build that community, hey, you're a part of something bigger than yourself right now. And I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, you start small, you've started with how many students, and now it's grown 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 times, 100 times what it was, when I saw you last time. And I just think it just keeps growing and growing. But it's like you said, it's those little words that you hear when you're in kindergarten, teamwork, sportsmanship, and digital citizenship and, business management, and like just every little thing that grows as you get older. I think it's just, there's a reason why esports and gaming is that is the biggest business globally. There's a reason why there's more money funneled into gaming than ever before. So I just think the opportunities are endless, and it's amazing as we keep harping on like how much it's growing and the importance of it. But
Yeah, I think from the perspective of a program, I mean everything that Neil and Patrick and Bob have said. Esports is sort of like we're in the position where sometimes I don't know if we all found this, but we have to explain what is esports. What is that? Is that like
what's
is
the
that
practice
kids
look
and then
like?
right? What is so now like collegiate esports are now starting to become a thing. As we said, ECAC when we joined last year was at 20 some schools. They were at 60 plus schools last year, and I think they're projecting to be around 100 schools. There is going to be a time where every school and every college has an esports program. And so that'll be an interesting evolution of where things go as well. For me, one of the biggest components is professionalism. Students have, just like our traditional student athletes, we have expectations. We have a code of conduct. We have a priority to focus on academics. We were the school with the leading number of students on the ECAC all academic team this year at over 40 students, which we're incredibly proud of. It's not just, as Neil mentioned, playing video games all day. It's not, inappropriate toxic behavior or language. We expect student athletes who represent the university, who wear a professional jersey, to really think about that opportunity to understand that privilege and that opportunity to represent the university or the school in organized competition. You don't win all the games. You like to win them all, but that's not the case. So we are going to win some. We are going to lose some. As Bob mentions, it's about sportsmanship, digital citizenship, and understanding, how social media plays into things. It's really kind of, I think, Megan, back to your question of what do high school students or what do students look to in a program, and from our comments today and everything that we're sharing, I think we really understand all of those different components, and esports will continue to evolve. But I think that's what we're all shooting for, is I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day.
We've seen a lot of pro athletes, traditional athletes playing, online, whether at Fortnite or whatever the case might be. There's a lot of cross pollination, in other words. So how do you support the traditional athlete who grew up, maybe playing baseball, football, hockey, swimming, softball, whatever the case might be, basketball? How do you support the traditional athlete in esports?
Again, it's the pathway is theirs, right? So traditional sport athletes, the percentage of them being able to play professionally in traditional sports is very small, and the same situation is going to happen with esports. So, as far as that cross pollination, I like it. I like the fact that Steph Curry is playing. Our company just made a partnership with the NFL Alumni Association, and Amon Green, a tremendously talented, great running back for the Green Bay Packers, is the head coach of the esports team at Lakeland University. So that cross pollination, I think, is fantastic because, as I think Michael mentioned it, there's that element of sports that you learn that helps build that character that you're going to need and wherever your future is going to be. Time management, discipline, teamwork, sacrifice. Whether you're an esports player or a traditional sport player, those values are going to really serve you well wherever your career and wherever your path takes you. So the more cross pollination, I think, the better. And quite frankly, I think, the traditional sport athlete playing on an esports team and vice versa, I think that's fantastic. I think it only helps the schools grow their esport programs. The student athletes are a little more recognizable right now, but I would tell you in 5 years, it's going to be the reverse. And I love on our campus when the esport players are walking around with their jerseys the same way the football players are. So cross pollination, I think, is great. I think anytime you can engage different groups of students, I think is a tremendous thing. And if more traditional sport athletes like the Amon Greens, the Brock Marines of the world, if they continue to showcase that they're playing esports, it's going to become more and more mainstream. And that's certainly not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I would say competitiveness, respect, all those things, cross pollinate in that respect. When I was a soccer coach in high school, I had multiple FIFA tournaments. I just think, when you watch Sergio Aguero, one of the best soccer players in the world, streaming on Twitch, like how many professional athletes have Twitch channels that you can go watch? I think just it's so, it doesn't mean a soccer player has to play FIFA or a football player has to play Madden or, Steph Curry has to play basketball or NBA.
Knowing the maps in the game, knowing the strategies, the intelligence. I watch a lot of basketball. It's probably the traditional sport I enjoy watching most. They talk about the basketball IQ. So what does that really mean, the basketball IQ? I mean, you may have someone who's 7 foot tall and they're athletically very strong, but the basketball IQ, the idea of being able to make the plays, the idea of, I think there's a Wayne Gretzky quote of skating to where the puck is going to be, right? That sort of behind the scenes of just throwing a ball or swinging a bat. There is so much really rich opportunity and information within esports. Yes, you might be just using your thumbs or a mouse and a keyboard, but there is absolutely a degree of athleticism and of intelligence and understanding to play at the highest level. It's just you won't be able to play at the highest level if you don't understand all those elements. So traditional athletes, I think they bring a lot to the table, and diversity and inclusion. We have international students, we have out-of-state students, we have students from every major on campus in all class years. So to Neil's point about cross-pollination, our community of students, our 100+ students, we are better because of our diversity and the fact we have all different perspectives. We have students who played football, we have students who build their own PCs, but let's all get in a game together and let's work towards playing at the high level and let's see what we can do. So I think it's only a positive benefit.
I also think that esports is the great equalizer too. So it doesn't matter how many pounds you can bench press. It doesn't matter how fast you are. In basketball, you can't teach height, right? But in esports, none of that matters. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what language you speak, and it doesn't matter what your body type is. So again, from that cross pollination, that engagement piece, at Caldwell, we're very, diversity is very important to us. We have international students, and it's important that they're engaged in these activities. And esports has been a great way to do that. And I think you're going to see that at the high school level, the 2-year college level, and the 4-year level, certainly as it continues to grow.
We do have a question from a Facebook viewer wanting to know, and this is directed for our coaches on the panel, how did